You should learn Python unless you want to fall behind. It's the primary language driving artificial intelligence and data science, and also the recently trendy AI agents. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 AI Python project ideas that you can code right now, and it will help you get started with this whole AI agent thing. And I'll also cover whether you actually know what AI agents are and how are they different from a very similar structure called workflows. And I'm also going to talk a bit about where to deploy them and actually show you the examples. So let's dive right in. So there is this great article released by Anthropic. I'll leave a link down to it in the description. It's been a couple of months ago, but I think it's still very actual information. So what are AI agents? They can be defined in several ways, and most people actually, I think, cannot find the differences between workflows and agents. Most people who dive into this all AI stuff on this AI hype train don't really have a deeper understanding of it. So I think you'll get ahead of tons of people if you actually understand this difference. So there are agentic systems and there are workflows. So workflows are systems where LLMs and tools are orchestrated through predefined code paths, and agents, on the other hand, they have much more freedom. There are systems where LLMs dynamically direct their own processes and tool usage, maintaining control over how they accomplish tasks. To better understand this difference, I made this little graph right here. In most cases, you are probably actually going to be aiming for workflows and not agents. As you can see, the workflow is the simplest structure because what you do is predefine a path with some functions that the LLM will call. It will verify if that's what should be done, and it will give you that structured output. The AI agent, on the other hand, it doesn't have that sort of control. You actually need to give it feedback because it doesn't really know what the end needs to be. You don't have the defined result that you're aiming for, because that's what workflows are for. You actually work through a feedback loop, probably with a human, to achieve a desired output, and the human decides, or I don't know, some kind of another agenting system, maybe that's also how people are trying to use those, that decides when the agents should stop working, and it gives the output finally at the end of that loop. So as you can imagine, agents are much more resource expensive than workflows, and they don't really provide that much more value if you actually have some kind of a predefined process that you want to automate. You don't need an agent. What you need is a workflow. This article also explains it deeply when to use which workflows. There is a prompt chaining one. This is when you make a few LLM calls one after the other. There's also routing, which takes an input and then chooses which LLM call to make when it's more specified. And there's also parallelization, which makes 3 LLM calls or even more, this is just an example, at once, and then the aggregator decides which one should return the data. I won't read through all of this. I will link also to a video by Dave Abelard. I loved his explanation of this and his deep dive on AI agents with Python. But now let's actually get to the fun stuff and show you how to build your 3 first AI agent projects with pure Python. So the first one is to help us with the thing we all developers hate. We don't like writing documentation, and we especially don't like fixing the documentation and updating it when we update our own code. So you can write a simple automation that will update the documentation for you using an LLM, and it will listen through the GitHub changes that you commit, and it will automatically update the README file or the doc page using the tools like Mintlify. If you host your documentation there or anywhere else, you can just plug that in, make the LLM make the changes for you based on what code changes you make. This can be done with a simple webhook with GitHub, and you probably want to have a step when you actually accept whether those changes that the AI made are actually true. But still, it will save you the time and hassle of writing all of those changes yourself. Regarding the deployment, if you want this to work for your whole team and you want to have your colleagues praise you for writing this, then you can host this on a virtual private server. And if you don't want to do that and you actually want to only use it yourself, you can just spin up a terminal application, and it will just run in the background, and whenever you code and make changes, it will just pull the changes and make the update the documentation for you. I think sharing it with your colleagues is a great idea, because a project like this will not only save you, but also your friends tons of hours. Now, this next one, I think I'm gonna make myself. Are you also underwhelmed by Apple's latest and greatest Apple Intelligence? Yeah, I think we can all agree it sucks. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw those, these summaries when there was an app that was monitoring your home, and suddenly you got a notification that 10 people were at your door, where in fact those were single 10 persons that just passed by. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Also, Siri is still pretty stupid. She can't do anything. Like if I ask her to, I don't know, pull some data from an email and set up a meeting for that, it will probably mess up 10 times out of 10. And yeah, what if we just made a better version of Apple Intelligence for ourselves using Python automations? So you can create a webhook and run it locally in your terminal in the background when you sit down to work. Or if you're feeling rich, you can just spend money on a VPS and have it run the whole time. So what you will do is simply connect the apps you use the most. I think we probably all use Google the most, Gmail and Google Calendar. So these are the two easiest things that you can connect using the APIs that Google provides, using also Python. Listen for recent mails that are coming in, read them, summarize them, and just, you can come up with a UI if you want, or you can just maybe, I don't know, summarize those emails and send an email to yourself from your account, and it will appear in your inbox. And for example, you can just maybe add some little links that will do some actions. For example, you get a summary and you have, for example, a meeting coming up, and you can create a link that will, when you click it, will call the API that is running on your machine, and that link will make the call to the API of the calendar, and it will automatically set up that meeting. You could run it on autopilot, but if something messes up, your calendar might look crazy. So I wouldn't do that. I would do like this, summary and links that would make the API calls, which just confirm the actions. I think it would be great and fun, and I might try this and see where it goes. Now, this next one might even save you $200 a month, and I guess you suspect what I'm talking about. And there are many open source alternatives to this already, but I think it's a great practice to build something like this yourself. So I'm talking about Deep Research from OpenAI. And besides, if I ever want to use this, it's not available in the EU, so there's another reason to build it if you're not living in the United States. So what actually is Deep Research? Well, it's basically as simple as just giving the large language model an access to the web, but it's a much broader access than just giving it a few websites to search through. No, you actually give it access to tons of websites. It's really expensive in tokens, so it would be the best if you could probably use a cheaper model. And luckily there is one, Gemini, the new 2.0 Flash model is really cheap, and it also has a gigantic context window of 1 million tokens, I think, which will probably enable you to fit thousands of websites into that model and probably still get something useful out of it. You might don't want to build a cool UI for it, but honestly, you can just ask AI to build a cool UI in React or in just plain HTML in like a few seconds, and you don't have to do a single thing and just plug that into your Python script. Or you can just, if you're feeling like it, put the research made by the AI into a Markdown file, and you can just copy it down to a tool like Notion, for example, and it will be nicely formatted all out of the box. With this, you will get almost the same power as OpenAI's Deep Research, just without the huge, crazy price tag. You only just pay for what you actually use, and yeah, I think you should give it a try. Now, coding all of these might not also help you develop your Python coding skills, but also help you come up with SaaS ideas. And if that's what you want to go for, you want to build an app, I recommend you watch this video right here next, where I talk about a free template for SaaS applications that I made. And yeah, hopefully you make use out of it, and I'll see you in the next one.